It is Monday, August the 15th, 2022. There's something in the DNA of people who become champions. The expectations of winning never leaves. After winning the 1981 college basketball championship as a sophomore for the famed Indiana Hoosiers, Isiah Thomas got used to the idea of winning. Isiah declared for the NBA draft right after and was picked second overall by the Detroit Pistons, where he spent his entire storied career. The leader of the bad boys, Isiah led the Pistons to two championships in 1989 and 1990, being inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, which cemented his championship pedigree. He also made his way into the various executive coaching and ownership roles with several NBA teams, including the New York Knicks, the Toronto Raptors, and the Indiana Pacers. The champion gene has definitely gone beyond the basketball court with Isiah. He is the chairman and CEO of Isiah International LLC and Isiah Imports, a certified minority-owned investment holdings company. Isiah has for more than 30 years been investing in new and existing business. He is the owner of several companies: Isiah Real Estate, a development firm specializing in commercial properties, and most recently, Isiah Imports, the exclusive United States owner and importer of Cheurlin Champagnes. It is National Black Business Month, and we couldn't think of a better person, a more successful person and entrepreneur than one of basketball's all-time greats, perhaps the greatest point guard to ever live, Isiah Thomas. I say it all the time. He was never the biggest person on the court size-wise, but no one had a bigger will, a bigger drive, and bigger heart than Isiah Thomas. We will speak with Isiah in just a moment, but first, a couple of headlines to start your morning. Federal law enforcement said they suspect former President Donald Trump had violated the Espionage Act and other laws when it sought and obtained a search warrant for his estate in Florida, according to court records that were unsealed. The unsealed warrant shows that investigators were authorized to seize any documents or records with classified markings or related to the transmission of national defense information or classified material. If Trump is ultimately charged and convicted of violating the Espionage Act, he conceivably could face 10 years in prison. So it is certainly a story that we all will be watching very closely as it unfolds. Also, over the weekend, the Afro, the oldest family-owned and Black-owned newspaper in America, celebrated its 130th anniversary in style over the weekend with a sold-out gala near Washington, D.C. that was hosted by comedian Tommy Davidson and included messages from dignitaries and elected officials. NMPA President and CEO Dr. Benjamin Chavis presented Afro publisher Dr. Tony Draper with two major awards, including the coveted Publisher of the Year. So congratulations to the Afro on 130 amazing years serving the Black community. Now joining the Black press right now, as we continue to observe Black Business Month, is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, NBA legend Isiah Thomas. Good morning, Isiah.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Great to see you again. Thanks for joining the Black press once again. We appreciate you.
It is my pleasure, and it's always a good day when I get to sit and talk with you.
Oh man, you just made my morning, Isiah. Listen, after being one of the greatest basketball players to have ever stepped on the court and becoming a successful entrepreneur and businessman, why did you choose to start and or connect with the type of industries that you currently run?
You know, that's a great question. You know, I started my firm in 1990, and basically I started to uplift the second generation that was behind me up out of poverty. We always talk about generational wealth, and the best way to do that was to start and get involved in business. I didn't know that when I started my businesses that I was an ESG company, and what that means is that you're environmentally, socially conscious, and you cooperate and you participate with corporate governance. So the environmental and social impact, of our firm, the things that I was always interested in, I wanted to invest in things that impacted the community, that impacted the family, but also, had a chance to make sure that there was some legacy that was coming behind. My econ teacher told me to invest in things that I like. So one of the first investments I made was in popcorn. I love popcorn, and it was a staple in the home because we didn't have a lot of food. So mom would pop popcorn all the time. And if you look in your stores now, you'll see that red bag of kettle corn that says Indiana popcorn. I went to Indiana, thus the red on the bag. And if you remember, Stace, when we were coming up, they didn't have colors on the bags of popcorn.
Right.
It just came in plastic bags and clear plastic bags. We were one of the first companies to start putting colors on the popcorn bag.
Wow.
And the Cheurlin Champagne, and I'm chairman CEO of One World Products now.
Yep.
It's an industrial hemp company. So I invest in a lot of I guess a lot of staple things that we use in our home every day, and things that that you use in your family every day.
Yeah, and you mentioned the environmental aspect of it. Here we are. They just passed a climate justice bill in Congress. We've been talking about the environment and people killing the environment. You've been ahead of the game there.
When you talk about industrial hemp and you talk about carbon reduction, industrial hemp is the natural carbon sink. It takes more carbon out of the air than any other plant that's on Earth right now. And for us, what we see at One World Products and Isiah Hemp is what we're working with Stellantis, in the auto industry right now, Ford, GM, is how to replace plastics in the automobiles and infuse what we call hemp plastics into the automobiles, thus reducing the carbon footprint. But when you look at hemp and when you look at carbon reduction, it goes across every business sector, not only automotive space, but when we even talk about the cosmetic space, when you talk about infusing CBD into the cosmetic space, when you talk about packaging, plastic packaging, hemp replacing plastic packaging, hemp replacing papers. I mean, it runs the whole gamut in terms of its uses. So what we've done with One World Products is we have the largest supply of hemp on this side of the equator. We got 1.2 million acres of land in Colombia. Why we chose Colombia is because it gives us the equatorial advantages of the sun. The sun shines there 12 hours a day. We can turn our lands over 3 times a year. Thus, we can meet the supply. We have the supply to meet the demand of every business industry.
Wow. And we'll talk more about that. And of course, you had one of the largest Black-owned vegetation management companies too. Talk a little bit about that too, because again, it's something you said you see in your home. It's something you need in your home, really. But talk about your involvement in that.
So when I first got to Detroit, believe it or not, well, before I got to Detroit, I used to cut grass. We all had to cut grass in the neighborhood.
Shovel snow.
And, so I didn't realize that cutting grass, you were also in the landscaping business, right? So, but when I got to Detroit, I got this endorsement with a company called Detroit. And with Detroit Edison, they used to have me do this commercial called Look Up. And you would look up and you said, I don't see anything. And you would talk about electrical wires and how, there'd be down wires in the neighborhood, and you got to be safe, so forth and so on. Fast forward here today, the largest Black-owned veg utility company in this space right now. We work with Southern companies. We work with Entergy. We work with Demco. And we're in Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, and Georgia. Now, why did we pick those locations? Because that's where a majority of the storms come in. We started in Louisiana doing storm work there. Entergy was the first company to bring us on. And, we do a very good job. But how did I get in that business was, because I was interested in the safety aspect of it. We have, right now we're one of the number one, we're number one in our space in Louisiana in terms of safety. we haven't got measured in the other cities yet. But in Louisiana, in the state of Louisiana, we got the #1 safety record there. And safety is important in this business.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Isaiah, obviously you were very strategic on the court, but it seems like you are just as, if not more, strategic in your business choices. You've been spelling it out this morning. Did basketball help you develop, or in any way, shape, or form, a more keen business sense?
Absolutely, it did. The first thing it teaches you in terms of basketball is teamwork. You have to work together collectively to to make something happen in terms of a vision or a dream or a goal that the team may have. The goal is to win the championship. How are we going to navigate? How are we going to game plan? How are we going to do this together? So when you're managing people and you're bringing people together, it's about giving them a vision. It's about giving them a goal. And it's about, making sure that we have the right game plan to execute to get there. So basketball gave me a lot of business experience and managerial experiences that you wouldn't normally think that would be applying. But when you look back on the sport in terms of relationships, friendships, building, guiding, having perseverance, getting knocked down, failing in business, then having to, regroup, get back up. Those are a lot of lessons that I learned in sport that I brought to the table here.
Yeah, I noticed something. If you go to Isiah International website, I noticed there are a lot of folks named Thomas on there. And I assume, and we shouldn't assume, but I assume they're family.
Yes.
Eh, how important is that when we think about, because this is National Black Business Month, and this is just not germane to Black folks, but it's important that you have someone as trusted as family that you can have as a vice president, you can have as a some sort of director, and you have all of that. Isiah, how important is that?
It's extremely important. When we talk about uplifting ourselves out of poverty, it's important that we start with our family first. And the kids that I have sent to college, because a lot of them didn't go to college on a scholarship. They had to get student loans, so they took out student loans from the Thomas Bank, so to speak. And how do you pay back your student loans? Well, you come back and you work in the firm. You give us 6 to 12 months of free labor, pay off your student loans. But in Isiah International, what we've done is we have different sectors and different spaces in our companies that each individual, they can come out and decide, do I want to work in champagne? Do I want to work in hemp? Do I want to work in insurance? Do I work in real estate? Do I want to work in green? And you try to apply the skill set that you have. Now, if you find a place that you like and you want to stay, then here's an opportunity for you to stay in the company, make money, earn a living, and still be a part of the family business. But also, if you decide that you have a better opportunity elsewhere, at least you're prepared and you have skills to go elsewhere, get another job, and put food on the table. And when you talk about lifting your family out of poverty, all my monies that I made in the NBA, I didn't make the 25 million a year or the 30 million a year. I started with 400,000 and I thought I was rich, and, my mom and dad was like, okay, well, you got to put this back into the family. And how do you put it back into the family? We believed in education was the way out of poverty. And this is what we're doing.
Well, some of these guys today, Isiah, are making close to 50 million a year. You guys ever think about that? Like, I mean, you're certainly among, they say, the 50 greatest. In my book, you're probably in the top 5. You ever think about, man, if I played today, what I could make?
You always have those thoughts, absolutely. But then there's consequences for playing today, right? So will my family structure still be the same? Probably not. Would my family values still be the same? Probably not. Would I be the type of person that I am today? Probably not. So there's a trade-off, in terms of the coaching that I got, the mentoring that I got, the parenting that I got, the friends that I made. I wouldn't trade any of that for the 50 million a year.
Right.
I like where I'm at, well-rounded, grounded with a lot of good individuals, a lot of good friends, a lot of good mentors, and that there's a lot of wealth in that's not monetarily, but you can't, how do you account for that? And I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Well, I want to talk just briefly, if we can. I know we're going to soon run out of time, but if we can, about Mary Thomas. You talk about a backbone, and as we bring in President and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Dr. Benjamin Chavis. Good morning, Dr. Chavis.
Good morning. And I just wanted to salute my friend and a man that I for many decades, Isiah Thomas. Thank you so much for all of what you continue to do and the great example, Isiah, that you're setting for generations to come in entrepreneurship and sports, but just being an overall good brother.
Well, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your mentorship in allowing us to sit here today and even use the word good brothers, right? So without people like yourself who have made the sacrifices and spreading the good word about our community, about the good things that are happening in our community, we wouldn't be here today. We got a long way to go, but thank you for your effort and your continued fight.
Very good. And I want you to know I have some of your champagne in my cabinet.
Enjoy.
Isiah, you talk about the importance of family structure, and I can't help. I would be remiss if I didn't mention your mom. Certainly, you've made it no secret how much of an inspiration she was for you. Can you just give us a little insight on the type of woman Mary Thomas was?
So I give you the woman and the mother. So first of all, I'll talk about the woman. The woman who was married to my father, Isiah Thomas Sr. They were married for 23 years. He lost his job. And when he lost his job, back then, you had to make the decision if your family was going to go on welfare or not. And my father didn't want us to go on welfare. So he kept trying to get a job and never could find one, couldn't crack again. So when we got on welfare, he had to leave the house. And if you remember, the welfare man used to come to your house and check if there was a man in the house.
Yeah.
And I remember my father having to hide in the closet and stuff like that. And it was just demoralizing. But you didn't really understand the impact of what was happening on their relationship, on their marriage. Now, they separate. Now, again, I'm talking about the woman. So they separate. My mom go on welfare. Now she's raising single, black mom, raising a family on the west side of Chicago. Now she's taking a welfare check, and she's paying for us to go to school, right? Not putting food in the house, not paying the rent, but paying for us to go to school, paying for my sister to go to school, paying for my brothers to go to school. And so now fast forward, my father's dying. Father died of cancer. She brings my father back home. I'm talking about the woman now.
Yeah.
She brings my father back home, and my father died in my mother's bed.
Wow. Wow.
Now, when you talk about, the woman, that's the type of woman my mom was. Now, when you talk about, okay, the mom, what type of mother was she? Through her actions, through her everyday get up of walking to work, not riding to work, walking to work, never missed a day of work, walking through snowstorms, and you know how cold it gets in Chicago.
Yes, indeed.
But never missing. So her showing that perseverance, her demonstrating that determination, you know, visually right in front of me, gave me an opportunity to see what it means not to quit, not to give up, not to get so down on yourself that you can't make it. I remember us walking through a snowstorm, and I had holes in the bottom of my shoes, and I'm sure, Stacey, you remember how you get the hole in the bottom of the shoes?
Absolutely.
And you're walking in the water, and the snow is coming through, and so you try to put a couple of extra pair of socks, right?
Yep.
Make sure. So I had some cardboard like stuck in a hole.
Yep.
And it got all wet, right? So I'm complaining about my feet being cold. And then I looked down at my mom's foot. My mom had some Glad trash bags wrapped around her feet with some rubber bands.
Mm.
That's what she was walking in. And I was like, let me shut up and keep moving. So that's the woman and the mother that you're talking about.
Yeah, there is a great story, the Mary Thomas story. Folks who haven't yet, who don't know that story, I really strongly suggest you check it out, the Mary Thomas story. Isiah, it's Black Business Month. You have shown how perseverance, you've shown how resilience, you know, this tenacity that you had on the court, you've taken it with you to business ventures, all your business, everything this guy touched, Dr. Chavis, turns to gold, it seems, or platinum. But your advice, Isiah, to the younger ones who we have today, probably more aspiring business or entrepreneurs or business owners than ever before, it seems. What's your what can you say to them to give them just a little word of advice?
The best advice I can give Black business owners today, because as you said, there are many of us now that are coming up through the ranks, and you know, because the generation before us laid such a great solid foundation that's now bearing fruit, right? You know, the seeds were planted, you know, in the 60s and in the 70s, and it takes a while for it to go. But this generation here that is below us, that's below myself, they have an opportunity like no other in America. And I would encourage them to work together. That would be my message to all of them. Help each other and work together. And don't charge each other fees for working together. Truly help each other, work together, come together, and have partnerships that you can continue to move together collectively. Because if we can collectively get back our spirit, in the 60s, that was a collective spirit. In the 50s, that was a collective spirit of how classified Negroes, Afro-Americans, African-Americans, whatever they were calling us back then. It was a collective community that worked together to push each other and to help each other grow. It wasn't the individualism that we see today, where I got to get mine, I got to get paid, I got to do this. Even our music was teaching us, hey, collectively come together, brother, love, work together to move our race forward in America. Today, I would say we're too individualistic as opposed to working together.
And by the way, for folks who don't know, we started this program. We're headed toward 400 episodes now, but we started this program January of 2021, right, just before the insurrection. And where I'm going with this, Isiah, is we took the name from an Isiah Thomas saying, Isiah Thomas hashtag, let it be known. If you follow Isiah on social media, it's let it be known, let it be known. And we went with that because I started tweeting hashtag let it be known. And So when we got together, Dr. Chavis, Claudette Perry, and the rest of us got together to start this show, it was suggested that we call it "Let It Be Known." So there you go. Isiah, let's talk about the champagne Dr. Chavis has been storing and stocking in his cabinet and not sharing with me. Did we lose Isiah? Isiah is frozen up there.
Can you see me now? Am I
Now
good?
we got you. Yeah. Are you with us, Isiah?
It's just probably is the internet. But while he's waiting to come back, let me just say, let it be known, and everything that Isiah Thomas continues to stand for is not only saluted here in America, but throughout the world. As you know, Stacey, I do a lot of work in Africa and the Caribbean, and I always hear the name Isiah Thomas as something that young people aspire to follow in his footsteps. And I'm so glad he shared what it was like in the 60s and 70s in terms of that collective spirit, and also family, the importance of family. I just think Isiah Thomas Stacey epitomizes the best of the best, what it means to be a true a father, leader, family man, outstanding athlete. And I just think that our world, not just America, but our whole world is a better place because of Isiah Thomas.
Yeah, Doc, and I do see Isiah's back with us now. Champions on the court, folks, you have players who play on championship teams, and then you have players who make championship teams. And Isiah certainly falls in the category of the latter, making championship teams. Isiah, let's talk about the champagne. I've been seeing some things lately that tell me that it is now the #1 champagne.
It's the #1 first press of the grape champagne, zero low sugar in the United States. And when we talk about first press is the best press. And most of the champagnes that we get in the United States are second press or blended champagnes. And what we've tried to do is just educate the consumer about what he or she is drinking. And for too long, we have been sold this story that when you drink champagne, you got to get a headache and you got to throw up or it makes you feel bad. And that's because it's the second or the third press. But when you talk about the first press of the grapes, it's the highest quality of champagne that's in the United States. It's the highest quality of champagne that you can get. And what we wanted to do is bring back to our community and bring back to America the best of the best, because I feel that our community, and I feel that, we here in America, we deserve to have a shot at celebrating and drinking the best and not pretending that we getting the best and having, the folks across the water laugh at us because they know that we're not getting the best. So we have the highest quality and the first press of the grape champagne in America. And for all those watching, when you drink champagne or when you order it, ask if it's the first press. They'll probably tell you no, and then ask them for some Cheurlin Champagne because it's the first press.
Wow. I want to go back quickly. Again, I know we're running out of time. We're with the great Isiah Thomas. To your One World Farmer business.
It's actually One World Products.
One World Products. I'm sorry. I saw where you have a goal, Isiah, of producing hemp cars. Can you talk about that?
Well, again, when we talk about hemp, hemp is I believe will be the raw material to replace or supplement all plastics and all oil-based production. The first hemp car actually was made by Henry Ford at the Ford Motor Company, and not only was it stronger than steel, it was lighter and also moved faster. And again, it takes carbon out of the air. Well, the oil industry and the plastic industry did such a great job in classifying hemp with marijuana as a class 1 drug, right? So therefore, the pharmaceutical industry, the plastic industry, the oil industry, they all benefited from hemp being classified as a drug. Well, now hemp is back, and not only is it back, but now we have Mother Nature is saying, if you don't change your ways, man on earth, woman on earth, time's up for you by 2050. So the environment is calling for hemp. And when we talk about hemp being made, used to make automobiles, it won't be the first time, although it will happen again. And right now we're positioning ourselves to be one of the leaders in that automobile space in terms of infusing hemp plastics into the automobile space.
Yeah, and before I turn it back over to Dr. Chavis, Isiah, you have quite the legacy. Obviously, as we pointed out on the hardwood, we don't need to point that out. You have to be living under the rock not to know how great this man was on the court. And I always point out that nobody except for Isiah Thomas outplayed Michael Jordan when it came to the playoffs head to head. Now you're building an amazing legacy as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a business mogul. What would you like your legacy as an entrepreneur to be?
That I uplifted my family out of generational poverty, and I did it through business and education. When I look at my nieces and nephews, and I still have some family members that are really struggling, trying to just get into the mainstream of life. My family has been afflicted with drugs and alcohol. So just if I can leave the next generation, when they say Uncle Junior, right? When they say Uncle Junior did A, B, C, D, and E, I hope they're talking about Uncle Junior put some food in the refrigerator and now I can pay my rent, as opposed to Uncle Junior left me some news clippings that I can read about him playing basketball.
Wow. Well, Isiah, I'm hoping that one day you, myself, and Doc, and perhaps Greer, if she wants to join us, we'll sit down with some Cheurlin and talk basketball and family.
I love that. any day.
Doc, I'll give you the last word with the great Isiah Thomas.
I just want to say we're all blessed, and I thank God for Isiah Thomas. I thank God for his living legacy. Sometimes people don't live long enough for the world to tell them thank you. And I'm so glad that Isiah is still a young man, and he's still making, not only making points, but he's making a difference. And I just want to say that all of us, I can think that what Dr. King would say, Isiah, you are a living fulfillment of Dr. King's dream of the beloved community and making a difference economically, politically, culturally, not only in America, but throughout the world. So on behalf of the Black Press of America, thank you, Isiah Thomas.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
And thanks so much, Isiah, for joining the Black Press's Let It Be Known this morning. 235 African-American owned media companies comprise the Black Press of America. And we certainly are, as Dr. Chavis said, very proud of Isiah Thomas, not just the basketball player, but Isiah Thomas, the businessman, and Isiah Thomas, the human being. So thanks again, Isiah. Thanks for joining Let It Be Known. And check out his various businesses and websites. Go to Isiah International. It tells you just about everything you want to know about Isiah's business. Great website, family first. And that's what it's all about. Thanks again, and we will see you tomorrow.